Welcome to the Verb Lab.
We're here. We're so glad you're here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Verb Lab, the podcast where we deconstruct the journey to fluency. I'm Alex.
And I'm Maya. And we want to start today with a feeling I think many of you know all too well. It's that feeling of having a brilliant idea in your mind, a perfect joke, or a heartfelt story to share, but it's trapped. It's stuck behind a wall of fear and hesitation because the words you need are in English.
That feeling of being silenced by a language barrier is incredibly frustrating. We've been taught that the solution is more textbooks, more rules, more pressure. But today, we're going to offer you a different path, a more human, more enjoyable, and far more effective way to learn. This isn't about becoming a perfect speaker. It's about becoming a confident communicator. We believe that becoming fluent in English can genuinely change your life. It's not just a skill you add to your resume. It's a key that unlocks a profound sense of confidence and a newfound freedom. The freedom to travel without fear, to connect with people from anywhere in the world, and to access a universe of knowledge and opportunity.
But so many people try and fail. And it's almost never because they aren't smart enough or dedicated enough. It's because they're using the wrong map. They're focused on a destination called perfection, which, let's be honest, doesn't exist. Today, we're going to give you a new map, one that leads to real, attainable, and confident fluency.
And we should be clear, this comes from a very personal place. I've been there. I remember the feeling of my heart pounding in my chest before I had to speak English. I remember the terror of making a mistake, of being judged, of sounding unintelligent. For a long time, I thought that fluent speakers were just born with a special talent, a language gene that I didn't have.
That's so relatable. I used to think the exact same thing, but it's a myth. Over years of trial and, let's be honest, a lot of error, I learned the truth. Fluency is not a talent, it is a skill. And like any skill, it is not born. It is built. It is built not in rare, heroic bursts of study, but in the small, quiet, consistent practice you do every single day.
That's the perfect way to put it. I often tell my students to think of their fluency like planting a tree. You can't plant a seed and come back a month later expecting a giant oak. It simply doesn't work that way. You have to give it a little water and a little sunlight every single day.
And on many of those days, it will look like nothing is happening. You won't see the growth. But underground, those roots are growing stronger and deeper. Your daily English practice is that water and sunlight. It's not about remembering every single word in the dictionary. It is about the consistent, patient act of practicing, of showing up for yourself, day after day.
And the great news is, this practice can happen anywhere. You don't need a formal classroom. You can practice by talking to a friend. You can practice by talking to yourself while you're making breakfast.
Exactly. I used to practice by singing along badly, I might add, to my favorite English songs in the car. And, it's important to redefine what fluency even means. It's not about speaking incredibly fast. In fact, many learners hide their lack of confidence behind speed. True fluency is about speaking with clarity, with intention, and with confidence at a natural and comfortable pace.
That reminds me of a student I once coached. Let's call him David. David was incredibly intelligent and knew thousands of English words. But when he spoke, it was like a machine gun of words, so fast and rushed that it was almost impossible to understand him. He believed that speaking fast made him sound more fluent.
A classic mistake. So what did you do?
We did an experiment. I asked him, for 1 week, to consciously speak at 50% of his normal speed. I told him, your goal is not speed, your goal is clarity. Pause, breathe, and use simple words. The transformation was incredible. He instantly became easier to understand, which made people react to him more positively. This positive feedback made him feel more confident, which in turn made him an even better, more relaxed speaker. The lesson was clear: slow down. Clarity is the true foundation of confident communication.
So, what's the secret to developing that clarity and natural flow? For me, it all comes down to one simple word: listening. You must become an expert listener. You cannot produce a language you have not first absorbed.
That's absolutely the core of it. You need to listen to how native speakers talk. Listen to stories, listen to songs, listen to real conversations. Your brain is an incredible pattern recognition machine. The more you listen, the more you will subconsciously absorb the natural rhythm, the intonation, and the structure of the language, making your own speech sound more natural over time.
Listening to English music is a particularly powerful tool because it connects language to emotion and melody, which makes it much easier for your brain to remember. Find a song you love, look up the lyrics, and try to understand the story it's telling.
And as you listen and begin to speak, you must adopt a new philosophy. Mistakes are your best friend. Every single fluent speaker you admire has made thousands upon thousands of mistakes. An error is not a failure. It is a lesson in disguise. It is a signpost showing you exactly what you need to practice next.
I had a student, let's call her Maria, who was so terrified of making a mistake that she would barely speak at all. Her progress was incredibly slow because of this fear. We worked on one thing. For 1 week, her only goal was to make at least 5 mistakes every day in our sessions.
That's a brilliant reframe. What happened?
At first, she was hesitant, but then she started to relax. She made a mistake. I would gently correct her, and she would realize that the world didn't end. By the end of the week, she was laughing about her errors and speaking more freely than ever before. She learned that courage is the key. And this courage also helped her take the next big leap, trying to think directly in English.
That is a huge leap. I had another student, let's call him Chun, who was a classic translator. He would form a perfect sentence in his head in his native language, and then painstakingly translate it word for word into English. The result? His speech was incredibly slow and hesitant.
The translation trap. It's so common.
Exactly. So we worked on exercises to break this habit. He started by simply naming objects around his room in English. Then he moved on to narrating his actions. We also made reading a daily habit for him. Reading in English is a fantastic way to absorb correct sentence structures and new vocabulary and context, which makes it easier for your brain to start forming those sentences on its own.
Another fantastic tool for self-awareness is recording your own voice. I know. Nobody likes the sound of their own recorded voice, but it is the most honest coach you will ever have. Read a short paragraph from a book or an article, record it on your phone, and then listen back.
It can be a humbling experience, but it's so effective. You will instantly hear the small pronunciation issues you didn't realize you were making. You'll notice your own rhythm and intonation. It gives you pure, objective data on exactly what you need to focus on next.
And you don't have to do all this alone. Practicing with a friend can make a massive difference. You can motivate each other, correct each other gently, and most importantly, have fun with it.
That's the key. All of this practice, the listening, the self-talk, the reading, it's all designed to prepare you for the ultimate goal, using English in real, authentic situations. The more you can take your English out of the study zone and into the life zone, the faster you will progress.
And to keep progressing, you have to cultivate curiosity. Be a language explorer. When you hear a new word, don't just let it go by. Be curious enough to look it up. When you learn a new phrase, be playful enough to try and use it in your self-talk later that day. Curiosity is the engine that drives learning.
That's a great point. And you can channel that curiosity by setting a specific goal. A vague goal like, I want to be fluent, is not very motivating. But a specific goal like, in 3 months, I am taking a trip to London, and I want to be able to confidently order food in a restaurant and ask for directions, is incredibly powerful.
Yes, a real-world goal gives your learning a sense of purpose and urgency. It transforms your practice from a chore into an exciting preparation for an adventure.
And that brings us to what might be the most important principle of all. You have to enjoy the process. If your learning feels like a punishment, You will find any excuse to avoid it. You must find ways to make it fun.
For me, that was watching my favorite American sitcoms. It never felt like studying. I was just relaxing and enjoying a show, and my brain was absorbing the language as a side effect. Find what you love, and find a way to do it in English.
Let's talk about a very powerful but simple technique: repetition. Your brain is wired to remember things that it sees and hears frequently. The first time you hear a new sentence, it's just information. But if you repeat that sentence 10 times, you begin to carve a pathway in your brain.
This is why repeating lines from movies or singing songs is so effective. You are drilling those sentence structures into your memory until they become automatic. When you've said a sentence 50 times, you no longer have to think about how to form it. It just flows out naturally.
And when you're practicing, talk about topics that you are passionate about. Have you ever noticed how your words flow more easily when you're discussing your favorite hobby, movie, or sports team? That's because your brain has easy access to all that vocabulary and those ideas.
That's so true. And if you don't know a specific word, don't give up. This is a key fluency skill. Try to explain it in a different way. If you forget the word umbrella, you can say, the thing you use to stay dry when it's raining. That is successful communication.
Here's another great practical tip: practice in front of a mirror. So much of communication is nonverbal. When you speak in front of a mirror, you can see your own facial expressions and body language. Do you look confident? Are you smiling? This helps you align how you feel with how you look, which makes your communication much more impactful.
But what happens in a real conversation when your mind goes blank? You forget a word and panic sets in. The most important thing to do is don't panic. It happens to everyone, even native speakers. The best strategy is to simply pause, take one deep breath, and then try to continue your sentence, perhaps in a simpler way. That single breath can reset your nervous system and help your brain get back on track.
And just as a pause is important in a conversation, taking breaks during your study is crucial. Your brain is not a machine that can work for hours without stopping. It needs time to rest and consolidate what you've learned. It's far more effective to practice for 2 focused 20-minute sessions than for one exhausting 40-minute session.
And remember to be creative. Use English in fun, new ways. Write a short story or a poem. Create a short video where you talk about your day in English. Another incredibly powerful technique is to teach someone else. You don't have to be an expert. If you learn 1 new grammar rule or 5 new words today, teach them to a friend who is also learning. The act of explaining something to someone else is the ultimate test of your own understanding and solidifies it in your mind like nothing else.
So, as we bring our conversation to a close, the message is simple. Fluency is not a destination you arrive at one day. It is a path you walk every day.
It's a path of patient, daily practice. It's a path of courageously making mistakes and learning from them. It's a path of finding joy in the process and connecting the language to your own life and passions.
The confident, fluent speaker you want to become is not some other person. It is you. You just need to give yourself the permission and the right tools to emerge.
Thank you so much for joining us in the lab today. We hope this has given you a new map and a renewed sense of excitement for your journey. Choose one small, fun thing from our talk today and just do it. That is how it starts.
Keep practicing, keep exploring, and we'll see you in the next episode.